Believe Reverend Hunter is muted.
Oh, yes. Anthony? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. While I was over, thank you for coming to today's CPC meeting. And the Seattle Community Police Commission acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Coast Salish people, including the Muckleshoot, Suquamish, and Duwamish people, past and present. With humility, we recognize how much we benefit from living on their land and water. The Seattle Community Police Commission honors and highly esteems these tribes. We hope that this acknowledgement will encourage authentic relationship with urban Native people and all Coast Salish tribes. And I would like to take attendance at this time. Commissioner Lars Erickson will not be here today, and he has an excused absence. Reverend Patricia Hunter is present. Commissioner Adrian Levitt.
Present.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Suzette Dickerson. Commissioner Lynn Wilson.
Present.
Good morning.
Morning.
Commissioner Raven Nicole Tyler.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Commissioner Mary Ruffin. Commissioner Reverend Harriet Walden.
I'm here, thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you, good morning.
Commissioner Joel Merkel.
Good morning, I'm here, present.
Good morning. Commissioner Joseph Saya. Commissioner Lejaya Washington. Commissioner Officer Mark Mullins. Commissioner Alina Santillan. Good morning. Commissioner Lieutenant Tony Gadke.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Commissioner Jeremy Wood.
Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Tasha Johnson. And
Good morning, I'm here.
Oh, good morning. And Commissioner Erica Newman.
Morning.
Thank you all for being present. For the public record, I would like to share that at the close of our last meeting on May 17, 2023, our observers confronted the commissioners and staff. There was yelling and personal video recording at the end of our meeting, and there were distractions during the meeting. There was concern for physical safety of commissioners, and staff and security was called. Security is in the room with us at this meeting and will be at all of our meetings moving forward. As commissioners, we expect to be able to do our work without interference or fear of violence in accordance with our CPC bylaws. The CPC always receives written public comment, and we invite your comments at ocpc@seattle.gov. Please put public comment in the subject line so that your comments will be distributed to the full commission. We may receive oral public comment at our bi-monthly meeting, but we are not required to do so. And I would like to offer space at this time to commissioners and staff who were in the room at the end of our last meeting to share their thoughts and concerns regarding our last meeting.
Well, I'd like to just say that I've been doing this for a long time, and I felt that the level of that what was going on and the yelling and just like in your face almost with the cameras was over the top. And I personally, I will not, if that ever happens to me again, that someone like that is yelling at me, then I will absolutely make sure that I can, I feel threatened, I will call SPD and say that. That's how I would do that.
Thank you, everyone. Is there anyone else that would like to share? Well, then we will move forward. Public meetings are an important component of the commission because it allows the time for commissioners, the CPC staff, and key stakeholders to share internal updates with the community. These meetings are the CPC's primary opportunity to conduct its business, including relaying information to the public in a meaningful way and allowing time for commissioners to have a public conversation on topics where it is important for the community to hear their point of view. Because commission meetings are a space where critical information is shared with multiple parties on often sensitive matters, the commission does not allow interference with CPC business to occur during these bi-monthly meetings. For members of the public who are observing this meeting either at home or in person, I'd like to remind everyone that commission meetings are open to the public for all to observe. However, to allow the commission to conduct necessary business for police oversight in Seattle, it's important to note that disruptions during the meeting will not be allowed. And according to our accountability ordinance, section 3.29.030A, the CPC has an obligation to exercise independent judgment and offer critical analysis in the performance of their duties. The CPC shall exercise their responsibilities without interference from any person, group, or organization. We appreciate your interest in the commission and the work we are doing. And with that, we will continue with today's meeting agenda. So next we will move into approving the agenda. You were sent the draft agenda, but I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda for today to show that we will have 2 executive sessions. The first will be around 10 a.m. to review the performance of a public employee pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101G. The second executive session will be to evaluate the qualifications of applicants for public employment pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101G. The second executive session will be part of the executive director search conversation. And may I have a motion at this time to amend the agenda?
I'll step away from the chair. Motion on the floor to amend the agenda.
Thank you. Reverend Walden has moved to amend the agenda. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we amend the agenda to include the 2 executive sessions. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as amended, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? Abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. You were also sent the draft minutes. And may I entertain a motion to receive the minutes as distributed?
That last meeting minutes be approved.
Thank you, Lieutenant Gatke. Is there a second to approve the minutes?
I second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the minutes as distributed, please say aye.
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 Opposed? No? Abstentions? Okay. The motion is adopted to approve the minutes. Thank you. We will move into the commission updates, and Commissioner Joel Merkel will give the co-chair updates.
Good morning, everyone. I have a couple updates. First, as many of you probably saw in the press, there was a court hearing last week in federal district court for Judge Robart regarding the city and DOJ's joint motion related to the consent decree to essentially asking the court to approve closing the consent decree with respect to a number of the consent decree's requirements while adopting what they call a transition agreement related to two specific areas on police accountability and on use of force and crowd control. I was at the hearing, as were many staff and Co-Chair Walden. I think the thing that I want to leave with the commission was how encouraged I was by some of the words that Judge Robart spoke, especially including his question to the city, how it intended on complying with the accountability provisions of the transition agreement they're proposing when they are currently in negotiations with SPOG for a new contract. And as many of you recall, the last contract undermined significantly the accountability provisions in the accountability ordinance. And so the judge seemed very interested in those accountability provisions, and even the accountability ordinance. He asked the city at one point why the accountability ordinance could not be the floor in their negotiations with SPOG. So I was encouraged by the judge's questions, and he also made a number of comments related to use of force and crowd control, and asked some pointed questions for both the DOJ lawyer and the city lawyer. The judge, after arguments, took the matter under advisement, which was not surprising, was expected, and we are looking forward to the judge's written ruling. So all in all, my reaction was it was a positive, encouraging hearing, and Judge Robart seemed to ask, in my view, the correct questions. So that's right. He also, at the end of questioning, Judge Robart also made an observation about the CPC. He was he expressed his pleasure and happiness that the CPC is a very effective and productive organization, and he noted a lot of good things that's come out of the CPC, especially recently, and he seemed to think that that was a positive element of the context of the hearing and accountability and oversight moving forward. So we will see what the judge comes up with in his written order shortly. But all in all, I think it was a good day for the CPC and oversight in Seattle, and hopefully it's a good day for negotiations on police accountability provisions. So that's that update. The second update I'd like to offer today is we are, on the one hand, saying goodbye to a commissioner who has devoted a lot of his time and energy to the CPC while also welcoming a new commissioner. But first, I want to personally thank and recognize Commissioner Santillan for all of his service and contributions to the CPC. It's my understanding that Commissioner Santillan intends on resigning as a commissioner and moving forward with other endeavors. I mean, serving as a commissioner is a very difficult and challenging thing, and we thank all of you for doing it. And Commissioner Santillan has done it very well for many, many years. And I just wanted to thank Commissioner Santillan and recognize Commissioner Santillan for all of his service. Thank you. If there's anything you want to say, you don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to thank you and recognize you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I wish the best to the CPC and the new commissioners as you continue this work. The work doesn't stop for me. It just looks different in different capacities. And yeah, and know that I'm working alongside of you, and just wish you the best as the CPC continues to grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And please continue to stay in touch. You're a resource. You have the experience and the expertise, so we look forward to remaining in touch. I also am pretty excited about welcoming a new commissioner today, Commissioner Adrian Levitt. Adrian Levitt is an attorney with the Department of Public Defense and is now in the position dedicated, this commissioner position dedicated to the Department of Public Defense. I'd just like to say that I've known Adrian for over a decade and in a professional capacity and also personal capacity, and I'm pretty excited that we now have Adrian on the commission. Adrian has been just an absolute phenomenal attorney for DPD and for all of his clients, and has extensive experience in this area. In fact, Adrian was one of the attorneys on the very first inquest case after the new inquest process was approved. And I think brings just a wealth of knowledge and experience and brilliance to the commission. So I'm very grateful that Commissioner Levitt is here, and I want to just give the floor to Commissioner Levitt for a minute to introduce himself.
Sure. Thanks, Joel. Hi, everyone. I guess I'm not on the video. Well, I'm on the video somewhere, but my name is Adrian Levitt. I'm really pleased to be here and a part of the CPC. And I think Joel covered my background, but I've been an attorney with King County Public Defense for the last going on 13 years. And so I've had a lot of experience representing people impacted by policing. And I'm looking forward to bringing that work to this space as well. So nice to meet everyone, and I'm just looking forward to getting to the work.
Thank you. And those are all the updates I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now a word from our interim director. Dr. Collins.
Yes, well, thank you, Commissioner Hunter. You said a lot of the things that I had planned to say about the ordinance. It's very important to read the ordinance language. That's what guides our work. That's what restricts what we do and also gives us the authority to do certain things. So City Council did, when they set up the ordinance, provide this language about us and other independent oversight agencies being free from interference about outside groups and organizations. And that is really a policy statement about the independence of the CPC and something that we have to keep in mind as we're working on this very important work. I did send out a message last Friday, and I just wanted to highlight that, is that we've had a chance to, all of you,
Is anyone else having a problem hearing? Because I can't hear you. Hi,
I can't hear either.
Yeah, I think it dropped off, Callie.
okay, sorry about that. Anyway, the commissioners have had a lot of time to work with the bylaws and read them very closely. And the bylaws do speak to requirements for attendance at work group meetings. That's how the CPC does its work. We have a very small paid staff, but we're counting on you as commissioners to do the work of creating policy, advising, all of this. And so that's why we are tracking attendance at work group meetings as well as meetings here. So please just keep that in mind as you're planning around this very important work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Now we'll. Sorry for the, can you hear now?
I'll just really watch it.
Yeah.
You now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll move forward with our agenda, and we're sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll move forward with our commissioners' work group updates, complaints and appeals.
Yeah, on the complaint and appeals work group, I don't know that we have a very robust update, but we've continued to meet with OPA and discuss their current assessment for the need of a reformed appeals process and sort of how they've engaged with community thus far. Internally as a work group and with several other folks who have joined the meetings recently, who have sort of institutional knowledge about the CPC's work and the complaint and appeals process, have given us some insight into ways that we can continue to engage with community. And we've discussed having an educational video series about the current complaint process and the current appeals process that we would create before conducting some type of survey so we can start getting community feedback on what they would like to see, on if they feel like the current process is adequate. And so that is where we are. If Jeremy has anything to add, feel free to jump in, Jeremy.
Job summarizing most of it. I just want to say we've referenced before putting out a letter to city negotiators eliciting some specific concerns with the extant SPOG CBA that are interfering with appellants' rights or with complainants' rights in the OPA process. We're hoping to do a final workshop on that letter this afternoon and ideally get that out to the commission for approval next meeting.
Thank you. I'm going to make a point of privilege here and do a bit of a flip in the agenda. Our special guest, Dr. Gino Betts, our Director Gino Betts, has to leave at 10 o'clock. And so I want to give him enough time to share what he would like to share. And then we'll go back and pick up work group updates and the staff department updates. So Director Betts is the Director of the Office of Police Accountability. He is coming up on completing his first year in that position. Director Betts leads the work of OPA by overseeing the intake, classification, and investigation of complaints, certifying investigation findings, suggesting modifications to Seattle Police Department policies, and making recommendations on discipline to the Chief of Police. So thank you, Director Betts, for coming today. We are aware that you need to leave at 10 o'clock. So if you would please, sir, share some of your work.
Good morning.
updates.
Thank you for that introduction, Reverend Hunter. I like that, Dr. Betts. I'll take it. Good morning. Good morning, CPC. My name is Gino Betts Jr. I am OPA's director. I was invited to give updates about OPA's work and to talk about some of our projects and to hopefully take some questions. I gladly accept it because I do believe in the strength of collaboration. I believe in our partnership, and I want to overcome the tendency and the comfort of working in silos. That's not what the ordinance intends. Because of colleagues' proactiveness, I have met with most of CPC, including the new commissioners that I had the privilege to address last month. Again, I'm excited about the life experience, the professional experience, and the eagerness that they bring to help make Seattle a national model for police oversight. So I'm going to start with a little information about OPA. Last year, OPA received 2,252 contacts. 454 intakes were opened from those contacts. 60% went to an investigation, and 857 findings were issued. We do that work with less than 30 employees. We have 11 investigators, and generally 2 people, including myself, write the final reports. And despite, our plate being completely filled, I'm here to look for more work for OPA to engage in. So my goal this year is twofold. Number one, I want to raise the awareness about OPA, specifically within BIPOC communities. And number two, I want to increase the public's confidence in the work that we do. So number one, raising the public awareness about OPA. We've studied SPD's data, and it suggests that Black male youth and Indigenous people have grossly disproportionate contacts with the police. That's probably not a surprise to anyone, but we need to figure out why we're not seeing that same demographic submit OPA complaints. So to that end, we have contracted with a local research firm called EMC to solicit their feedback, to measure whether or not they are aware of OPA, and if they are aware of OPA, why we're not seeing OPA complaints from those demographics. Is it because they don't, they lack confidence in our work, or they just completely distrust the process? So that's a project that I'm really excited about. Our community engagement team, they've been working in overdrive. They presented at, tabled at, and attended BIPOC events throughout Seattle. We hosted a police oversight informational for Black clergy last year that CPC participated in. We celebrated the Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month at Seattle Center last month. We presented at Black Coffee, which is a Black-owned coffee business with a youth development space. We presented to Seattle University law students about OPA. We conducted a Know Your Rights presentation at the King County Youth Detention Center in the local high schools. We hosted a community conversations at Meadowbrook, celebrated the state of Africatown at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, and tabled at South Seattle College's MLK Day. And tomorrow, I have the honor of speaking at the Breakfast Group, which is a group of local Black men who provide a consistent, competent, and reliable presence for Black youth. So that's the plan for raising awareness, doing more community engagement, things of that nature. To increase public confidence in OPA, obviously we have a great partner in OIG who ensures that our investigations are timely, thorough, and objective. But I think we have to be self-accountable as well. So we've partnered with an investigative firm that will help us with interview coaching and adopting strategies to improve our skills. We're also working on improving complainants' experience with OPA. Some years ago, there was a survey done, and generally complainants felt like their experience with OPA was too impersonal, too cold. They would file a complaint, and then 6 months later, they would get a letter telling them the disposition of their case. I'm not okay with that. You know, we created a role called the complaint navigator. That position is designed to let the complainant know expectations about the investigative process, explain the entire process to them, to maintain frequent contacts with them, provide them consistent updates about their case's status. So that's another project that we're really excited about. We're also in the process of designing case closeout meetings. The purpose of those meetings would be for not sustained findings. I would invite the complainant to come to OPA, sit down with our investigators. We can give them an overview of our investigative steps. Sit down with me. I can explain my legal analysis and how I reached the findings that I made. And it's not, the goal is not that, you know, we're gonna agree by the end of the meeting. The goal really is to promote transparency. Hey, this is all of the investigative steps that we took, and this is how I reached my conclusion. And I think the community would appreciate that level of transparency, even if we don't agree at the end of the day. We're also working on complainant impact statements. As you all know, officers with sustained findings, they have the opportunity to speak with the chief of police at what's called a Loudermill hearing. I think community members, complainants should have that same opportunity. And I know OIG supports that position as well, that whether it's an in-person encounter with the chief of police or a written statement that I can provide to the chief of police on their behalf, their voice should be heard along with the named employee. And last, we are also including the discipline committee's recommended range of discipline along with the actual discipline imposed by the chief of police on OPA's website. So for sustained findings, what happens is once I recommend a sustained finding, there is a discipline committee convened. It consists of myself along with the named employees chain of command. We talk about what the appropriate discipline would be based on the severity of the allegations, based on the named employee's disciplinary history. And if it's above a written reprimand that we're recommending, usually we'll provide the chief of police a range. Let's say we're talking 1 to 4 days suspension, something like that. Right now, that range that we recommend is not included on OPA's website, but I want to include that for transparency's sake, along with the actual discipline that the chief of police imposed. So, that's what's going on at OPA, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Betts. Are there any questions?
Just a quick statement, and I don't know yet how to raise my hand on a WebEx. I just wanted to say thank you to Director Betts. A lot of what you discussed about the reforms you're intending aligns very closely with the hopes of the complaint appeals work group, both regarding transparency and especially giving complainants a voice at the disciplinary stage before the chief. So I look forward to working closely together. We have some ideas as well that I think are not inconsistent with what you laid out. So I appreciate you joining us and look forward to the good reforms.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wood. Any other comments, questions, Director Betts? Reverend Walden.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Director Betts, Dr. Betts, from Chicago, was in your town not too long ago. I'd like to just say I really appreciate what you bring into us and updating us on, especially around complaints and then your community outreach. Because I know when we first got started, we used to, do what the workshops of mothers or what to do when you get stopped by the police and take complaints. I mean, we were the only people in that time. We were taking complaints and sending them out, sending them to the chief, and then the chief would send them back down line to the proper people inside SPD. But what I can say is that a lot of people don't believe that anything's going to happen once they take the complaint. They don't believe that the complaint is going to do any good. What we used to tell them at that time is that one complaint could be, that last complaint could be the complaint that actually maybe get the officers some kind of discipline, or maybe the officer might have been fired. So we always encourage people to file that complaint, but and a lot of people just don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's a waste of time to file complaints. And then especially if people have a lot of people who already have prior events don't always want to file complaints because they already got a record of having something prior there. So those are the things that we found out. And then we did this for years before anything else was set up. So I had a lot of experience in taking complaints. And in those days, we could send them out to every place, Amnesty International and all over the world. That's what we did. But anyway, that was just as an aside. But really, really appreciate what you're bringing. I think that that office has really grown over the years. Number one, it moved out of SPD when we after the commission was set up back in 2013 or 14. I think it moved to this location to where it is now. And I think that was a good move. So having it out so people didn't have to come to the department to file a complaint and those kinds of things. So really, it's a real robust a report you're bringing to us, and I appreciate you coming to be with us. And you're almost here a year, and you can tell us how you like the rain.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. Director Betts, thank you also for being here. I was interested in your comments on contracting with a consultant to evaluate why some communities who are disproportionately have police contacts are not making OPA complaints in line with other communities, particularly young Black men. My question is, is there a timeline on soliciting that input and that feedback and discovering that information and digesting it and a plan for presenting it to the CPC or City Council or whoever? I'm just curious what the plan is. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So the plan is to get the surveys compiled within the next month, and then hopefully be done with the surveys by October, sometime in October.
Thank you.
And additionally, I do want to make that information public, again, to promote transparency. And my goal is if we do this survey every year, that the numbers look better every year,
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Director Bex, for meeting with us. So the one part of this that I didn't hear you mention was what happens and how it's displayed to the public when an officer is, when there's a finding of sustained and they decide to arbitrate it and to go through the arbitration process. Is that also posted? And if it's not, where would the public be able to get that information?
So we do track the number of cases that were overturned during arbitration. Honestly, I'm not sure whether or not it's posted on our website, but I will look into that and I'll bring an answer back to you.
Okay, thanks so much.
thank you. Any
All
other
right.
questions?
Go ahead, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I have one question from a labor perspective. Since a louder mill is considered a name clearing hearing, what would the name of for the community for a victim to have their day as well? So what would that be called? Because I don't think that it would be appropriate to be put in as a louder mill because that's a name clearing. The person.
Right. So I'm not sure that it would be a separate process. It may be, since I am at the louder mill, me presenting the complaint and impact statement to the chief of police at that hearing.
Is there a follow-up, Mr. Dickerson?
No, I just wanted to know, are we saying, I know that we want a process for victims to be able to voice their opinions and have their say. So, but what would we be couching that under? Because we wouldn't couch it under a louder mill because that's a name clearing.
Right. So, the way that I see it and the way that, we brainstormed it is that I would present the complainant impact statement at the louder mill. So we would help the complainant in the drafting process. Hey, this is the things that you should consider. This is a more impactful way to frame your account. And then we would present that to the chief of police either at the louder mill or before the louder mill.
Okay, perfect. That clears that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else? Well, again, Director Beck, I'm just really happy that you're able to join us today. I too am appreciative of you being in the community and that people see OPA and see the director of OPA and that you have a passion for community.
Thank you so much, Reverend Hunter. I think you're muted, but CPC, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to your partnership. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Betts.
All right. Thank you all.
I'll get back on here.
All right. Bye.
Does that make sense?
Okay, can you all hear me?
Is your volume up?
Yes,
on
we
your-
can
Mm-mm.
hear you.
I
You're
turned it
not
on.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Now I'm getting
cannot-
feedback.
We can hear you. If Keisha's speaking, we cannot hear her. She's muted.
We just can't hear.
Right, we can't hear through the main system. I can hear through my laptop now.
So I'm working on getting the main system online. You'll just want to use your laptop.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. What I was saying, I was just thanking Director Betts for being here and for being in community. So I think he has departed. Okay. So let's back up a little bit into our agenda. And we were giving Commissioner work group updates. And we had the complainant appeals. Is there any update from the community engagement work group?
Alina's dropped off the call.
Okay.
Oh, I see Alina.
Any update from community engagement work group? If not, we'll keep moving. Well, how about police practices? Raven, do you have an update for us, Commissioner Tyler? Can anybody hear?
I have lost Raven.
Okay. So maybe I was waiting a minute when he called Raven's name, thinking maybe she'd like to give the update because
Oh, we're gone.
I missed part of our meeting yesterday. But what we've been doing is following up on learning more about the Ebola rap. And at our last meeting, we had representatives from SPD come, someone from the training team. I'm forgetting both of their names, and another representative from SPD come and answer our questions about like how the Ebola rap would be used, information about its success rate, its cost. Mina sent us information about the interim use policy, and so we discussed that as well. Overall, I think we still have more questions, and the Ebola rap is pretty much already set to be used by officers, but there hasn't been a lot of community like awareness or information given out to community about this. So we were wanting to do two things. We were talking about doing two things. One was talking to the community engagement work group about possibly getting information out to the community about the Ebola rap. And then also we were discussing possibly writing a letter to SPD with more of our questions about the Ebola rap. And anyone from my work group can add more information if you'd like to.
Any other additional
I think you
comments?
summarized that well. Thank you, Legia.
Reverend Walden?
Yeah, I have a comment. Mother's Police Accountability, we were at the first demonstration of Ebola rap. We thought that it was would be a good addition to the Seattle Police Department. And then we did write a letter in support of the Ebola rap. So some parts of the community did know a little bit about it because we were there for myself and Attorney Lynn Muslim was there for the initial demonstration of the Ebola rap.
Thank you, Reverend Walden.
Reverend Walden, this is Tasha Johnson. Do you have a copy of that letter?
I
wouldn't want to repeat the same things. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we can get you a copy of that letter. I think we sent it to the CPC, or at least we had it at one of the meetings that we had. So we can make sure we can get a copy of it.
All right.
I have a copy of it and I can send it to you.
Perfect. I can do a search as well. Thank you so much.
Great. Is there an update from the behavioral health work group?
Yes, there is. And I attended my first meeting on Monday and missed the first half hour because it took me that long to figure out how to access it. And thank you so much, Keisha. She did a great job. So, because I was on the phone, I wasn't really able to see who was present. But the first half of the meeting that I actually missed was a presentation from Mina and also a staff member from Councilmember Lewis' office about the joint agreement between the mayor and the city council to implement a dual response a dual response program that will change the way that 911 calls are dispatched to crisis situations, mental health crisis and drug addiction situations. So, and that apparently is already, there's some kind of a pilot project, and I think Mina probably covered that is being implemented in the communication center, the new communication center. And then we had about an hour presentation from the Sergeant Jabari Ade from the Seattle Police Department Crisis Response Unit team. And he's the officer in charge, and it was really interesting. Also participating, I did hear on the call, we had Felicia was there, Murgitu was there, and also the OIG Deputy Director, Bessie Scott, and they talked about how the plan is to have a community meeting presentation concerning the current crisis response teams. The sergeant did point out that these teams have been operating since 1998, and kudos to Mothers for Police Accountability for being at the beginning of that effort. And it was very, very interesting. So a couple of points. One is that the social workers actually are in the cars with the patrol officers during their entire shift. I didn't hear how many officers and social workers are involved in this. I got the impression that there's at least one team for each precinct. The other part of it that I found really interesting was the extreme risk protection orders, and that unit is responsible for those protection orders, and that's a relatively new system whereby either law enforcement or family members can petition the Superior Court to have a person's firearms taken away. And he said that they've been really increasing the numbers of those firearm removal protection orders have really increased something like a couple of weeks now, and that most people will very easily give up their firearms. And I found that just really interesting. Most of the times it involves a suicide situation. So he was really, really, it was really interesting. And if there's any possibility of him presenting to the entire commission as we move along with this, this new response program, it would really be helpful to understand what's actually happening out there in the real world. So anyway, so next time, hopefully I'll be able to actually participate. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that update.
I have a question.
Yes. Officer Mullins?
So, I'm wondering, with this program, what precincts are these social workers or mental health professionals riding with police officers in the same car? That's not happening in the South Precinct. And I keep hearing these messages that social workers or mental health professionals are responding to our calls to assist us or to take over in our place. to make it more conducive for us to not be there. But that's not happening in the South Precinct. So these programs or these situations where people are explaining that this is happening, it's not happening in the South Precinct. So I'm very interested to find out where this is going on. What precincts are police officers riding with social workers in the same car?
I didn't hear him. I didn't hear that information, but I think that's a really excellent thing to follow up on. My understanding is that it's not a huge program, so I didn't. But I think we should need to follow up on that. If it's just a very small subset of shifts at one precinct, then we just need to look at that for sure.
Yeah, I would love for a program of some kind to come about, so that we minimize our contact. I would love that, but it's not happening. And people are taking kudos for the success of these programs that aren't existing. That's what I'm saying, officer. I'm saying that. I don't see this happening.
I can answer Officer Mullins' question, so Lieutenant Tony Gedke here. So what Commissioner Wilson was talking about was, as part of the presentation, is community response team currently has under contract the city department, under contract with mental health professionals, and the MHPs are riding with them to respond to calls. So they're not riding with all officers in the precinct. So they're assigned to the CRT units. And so the CRT officers are riding with the MHPs.
Copy that, Lieutenant. I didn't have that understanding. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for the questions and the answers. Appreciate that. And now let's transition into staff department updates for community engagement. Is there an update? Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, community engagement, we've been very, very busy out in the community. And I wanna take just this moment to talk about Brigitte. She's not here today, but she won an award a couple of days ago for the Southeast Peace Coalition. And so that was an honor, and we were all there, and Joe Nathan was representing with a table and giving out swag and our brochures and things like that. So we made a lot of good positive contact on that day, and was there to uplift the to receiving her award. We're scheduled to go to Lakes and Hughes tonight for a youth job fair, and the crew would I'll let Joe Nathan give his updates too, because they've been doing a lot of work on just about every weekend. So I appreciate all the hard work that they're doing. I went on a ride along with the West Precinct on this past Friday, which was interesting because we didn't get one call, not one call. So they want me to come ride every weekend with them. But I did get an opportunity to go visit the 911 call center and got some questions answered that I had lingering in my mind from the last presentation about how they operate and how the calls go out and those things, but I won't take up the time with that today. I'll let Joe Nathan go ahead and fill you in on some of the other things that have been going on.
Thank you, Felicia. Something I need to. Working through it here. All right. So yeah, thank you, Felicia. Yeah, we're doing a lot. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to my ride along. I'm hoping it's. I guess I want a little action. Mark will be in the South Precinct, so I'll see you out and about. Yeah, we got a lot going on. Just since we all last met with the Office of Civil Rights, we met with Director Derek Wheeler Smith. That was just a great conversation. Just to talk about, yeah, what he's doing, what we're doing. Hopefully we're just ways to partner, not only with youth and family. See what we're doing. We also met with Javali Stewart, who is Dr. Javali Stewart, a group called Hueruru. I hope I pronounced that right. We were referred to him by the city auditor, Dr. Claudia Rochader, and she just said he's a wonderful facilitator. He could potentially be a great asset when it comes to just this piece on restorative justice and these healing circles and things that we're seeing. It's happening a lot in the community. It's a trusted format that our groups like, and they were willing to sit down with us in these spaces. And so people just refer to us as a leader, a thought leader in that, and as a facilitator and potentially some development for us along these lines too, so we can improve our communication, be a better asset to the community. We got our intern confirmed with the Seattle Youth Employment Program, so we're excited about that. We're gonna bring them into the office. Also, we're having out in the field. It's an opportunity to just get outreach to youth, create a bridge, lifting up their voices, which is part of the mission and the job. Then have a lot of conversations with the regional peacekeepers. I mean, there's a lot of folks that make a big group, but everybody wants to come together. So we're just really working on what does that look like? What's that common denominator? How we can all come together with this community, see peace. That said, safe, security, and fair enforcement through Metro, it's a pilot program. You're probably seeing more Metro folks at their stops and things of late. They're really working to create some eyes in community policing around their locations, but they heard about what we're doing and they're seeing there's ways that they can partner too. And then there's other groups that are associated with them that are looking to get on board, which is an advantage in that too, because they have their data and they're looking at frequencies of incidences, et cetera, at their stops, et cetera. So maybe, with all these different eyes and all these different sets of data, maybe we can come together in some kind of way. So we're just exploring those opportunities too. Jerry mentioned about Medita and her award, which we're proud of because, we went out to for like because of her connections and you can tell how the community embraced her and like, she's our chief. And so they have that kind of affection for her. So they really feel like she's the chief of their community. So we appreciate what we do. We're just a quick update too. We're working to create our calendars for the summer because we got a lot coming up. We're gonna hope that we can create some save the dates that we can send out to everybody in the commissioner, so y'all can just join in. Yeah, we're still hitting up these advisory meetings for the LGBTQ, African American, East African, also communities just connected with the Filipino Community Center and their advisory meeting. So we're gonna make sure we get out there too. There's something out tonight in the North Precinct, but we running kind of short today. But yeah, all to say there's a lot. There's a lot more, but that's a bit.
So we encourage you guys to join us, and just two things I would just like to say. One is thank you very much for all your support and always being there as a resource for us to keep going and ideas and things that are relevant to the community work. And also, I would also like for everybody to take one moment at some point and look at our website. Because our communications, oh my gosh, it's really bringing it with the website and really uplifting and highlighting all the work that our community engagement team is doing. And so if you haven't gone to the website, please do and scroll through because she's doing amazing getting us noticed down here.
Yeah, folks from New York, please, everybody, just different precincts are really checking us out, which is good. Folks are watching. They're coming across the nation.
I talked to a lady from Ohio today who want to know more about our community engagement. We're scheduled to talk to someone from New York that reached out to us as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a lot. One more staff update and then we'll go into executive session, but policy work group, is there an update? No update. Okay. No update. Well, at this time, The commission will be going into executive session to review the performance of a public employee pursuant to RCW 42.30.110(1)G. And it is expected that the commission will be in executive session for 10 minutes. And then we will return for a department update. So at this time, Keisha, you'll help us go into our first executive.
This meeting is being recorded.
I am sending everyone into a breakout room that should be an executive session, and then I'll just have you guys help me verify to make sure everyone's there that should be there, and then I'll step out as well. So I'm moving all of you that are online and not in the room into the breakout session right now. Yes. Going again.
Folks hear me?
Yes.
Looking for some nods from folks on camera. I see a nod from
Raven, thank you.
Yep, can hear you.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. We are now going to move into department updates, and I want to check on whether anyone from City Council is here for an update.
Thanks, Joel. This is Newell Aldrich from Councilmember Herbold's office. Wanted to update you about the forthcoming meeting of the Public Safety and Human Services Committee on the 13th of June. That will include a hearing on and first presentation on the CPC's proposal to amend the 2017 Police Accountability Ordinance. And we've invited CPC to attend and present about that. And we're working with co-chairs about schedule for a second hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Newell. And just to add to that, Dr. Interim Executive Director Ellis and I will be presenting on behalf of the CPC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Newell. Is anyone from the mayor's office here for an update? Seeing none. Anyone here from the monitoring team for an update? Saw Mr. Ward earlier. May not be on anymore.
He has a square.
He has a square? Mr. Oh, I do see. Mr. Ward, do you have an update for us today? If you are trying to speak, you are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ward.
Good morning, members of the commission. I have no report from the monitoring team. Nice job, Chair Merkel, on reporting the events at the judges conference.
Thank you, Mr. Ward, and I would defer to you and our next department update, DOJ, to correct anything I may have gotten wrong on my update on the federal court hearing, if anything. I saw Matt Ward here earlier. Is he here?
No, I thought your summation was very accurate, very much on point.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here from DOJ? Seeing none. Anyone here from OIG?
Hi, this is Bessie. How are you? Thanks for having us. Just wanted to, no reports, just wanted to mention and thank the CPC. The OIG is a part of, I believe, every active work group that you have. So we got to hang out with some of your commissioners, like Commissioner Wilson. At Behavioral Health.
Okay, Bessie, we can hear you, or at least in the room we can hear you now. Sorry, we had a technical glitch.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No reports, no updates. Just wanted to thank you all. We've been joining your work groups and have been looking forward to hanging out with your commissioners there. So thanks so much.
And thank you. And I know that over the last few weeks and months that we've increased our collaboration with OIG, and that's just really important for the system as a whole to be more effective. So we just appreciate your leadership, Bessie.
Yeah,
over there, and glad that we're able to continue our collaboration and improve our collaboration.
Yes, thanks so much.
That brings us to Seattle Police. I see we are graced by Mr. Maxey today in person. Do you have an update for us? Brian Maxey.
Good morning, all. Thought I'd drop in person. Actually, the link was not working for me.
Oh, closer. You want to
Oh.
go to the laptop?
Absolutely. Couple things. One is I went to DC to the NYU policing project and the Georgetown Law. Let me get this wrong, but community safety work group in DC last week along with Reba Gonzalez and Amy Smith from the CSC. Learn more about some of the successful alternative response models nationally, and what makes them work, and where the national trends are flowing. And this is actually a very inspiring meeting. I think there were a lot of people that have thought very deeply about alternative response at the table, and I think there's a lot of valuable information. In particular, I was impressed with a presentation from Dayton, Ohio, where they have a sophisticated mediation program that is handled by civilian responders to do essentially de-escalation of community conflicts, whether that's with neighbors, with families. So they bring the tenor down and obviously response on the level of conflicts. We've had 2 engagements with CPC this week. I think both of them, we certainly appreciated being at the table for both of them. You've heard about it from the policy committee and engagement committee today. From our perspective, having the crisis response team be able to present some of the work we're doing, how we've had a program that is a co-responder model, which is a form of alternative response since 1998. For Officer Mullins' concerns about he's really not aware of this, I think that is a problem that we've been trying to address. We've been trying to expand this program for years. In 2020, the contract with the mental health providers was pulled from SPD and now resides with HSD. So we do not have direct control over that contract, but we have been saying for years that it has been significantly underfunded. At this point, we have 5 mental health providers that the contract allows for 5 mental health providers. I think right now we've been able to fill 4, but because it is not, in my opinion, an appropriately compensated position, and the work is very, very hard, we've had a hard time with retention on that. So there's been a lot of turnover. But certainly at SPD, we very much love to expand that program, get more mental health providers, and be able to provide more systematic responses with our CRT. Similarly, we engaged on the inquiry on the Ebola route, had a good, vibrant conversation. And what I would really just like to say here today is I greatly appreciate the outreach of policy groups to communicate directly, allow us to have a back and forth conversation. This sort of engagement has not occurred as much as I would like in the past few years, and it is refreshing to sit at a table and be able to have an honest and open conversation and do our best to explain where we're coming from and why. So thank you for that. I think that ends my update.
Thank you, Mr. Max. That brings us to the final item on the agenda related to our executive director search. We're joined today by Pam Tinch, who is the city's Human Resource Department executive recruiting. Again, we also have our city attorneys, Jill Evan and Gary Smith, present. I think we're going to have some discussion before we go back into executive session. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Pam.
Great, thank you to the co-chairs. And, it is always a distinct honor to serve the commission. And I want to thank you for your report, your work and your investment in this process. I have the privilege to look for great leaders to come serve the city of Seattle. And I am very excited about this particular search. And just wanted today kind of give you an overview of what the process and schedule is going to look like in today's meeting and open meeting. We're also going to have some discussion in open meeting about kind of how we're going to move forward. And then we are going to have in closed session, have a conversation about the qualified applicants for the position. Just want to let you know that we did have a robust response to our candidate generation activity, both locally and nationally. overall, the applicant pool, a little bit skewed to folks that are identifying as female as to others. Basically, kind of our demographics in terms of racial identity, about kind of a 50% identifying as white, 50% identifying as non-white. We had good demographics within that communities of color. So I'm very pleased with the diversity of the candidate pool. What I want to do right now, though, is talk about, so the position was opened August 5th. It closed on May 30th.
May 5th.
Excuse me, May 5th. No, opened April 5th. It closed on May 30th. So it is now closed to applications. As we had discussed in March, I reviewed the applicants to see if they were qualified. One of the things that I did in order to do that is to aid my analysis is I put together a talent evaluation rubric that I shared with the commissioners. So in the city, kind of, we want to look very broadly about what talent is and what does that mean. So we look at talent, which is really kind of skills and abilities. We look at experience and expertise. So that's kind of what knowledge do you bring, both kind of book knowledge as well as your lived experience. And then we looked at alignment. So alignment is around kind of those values centered behaviors as well as some general competencies. And to build that rubric, what I did was I looked at our kind of discussion about what we included in the job ad, looked at what work we had done in the previous search. I did work on that with the outside consultant in the previous search. Also went back and looked at the legislation, enabling legislation, as well as looked at kind of our engagement activities that we did in conjunction with the Director for Office of Police Accountability last year. So that's how I built that rubric. And then one of the things that I provided to the commissioners is of the qualified candidates, I evaluated the candidates according to that rubric. So you did get a sheet from me that kind of indicated kind of what on a very high level, how I conducted that analysis. So that is how kind of we have gotten to the pool of candidates that we have. One of the things that we're going to ask, that we ask all participants in city employment processes, is that in order to have access to applicant material, you will need to sign a confidentiality agreement. We've been working through that process. I do recognize that with some of the commissioners, we may still have some problems in assessing those confidentiality agreements. Please reach out to myself or to Keisha if you still have not received that, but we will ask that you sign and return a confidentiality agreement in order to have access to applicant material. Let's just kind of go over kind of what our process is, and in doing so, kind of take a look at kind of what also will be on the schedule. So today we will be having some general conversation in executive session around the candidates. We will kind of use that information to aid us in kind of determining kind of what next steps are. We're looking at sometime between the 12th of this month and the 20th of this month to conduct some preliminary interviews, the purpose of which is really to gather some additional information, is not to make any decisions. It really is to gather additional information regarding these candidates. And then we will be coming back to the CPC as a whole on the 21st. At that time, we will be again, meeting in executive session, sharing what we've gathered during kind of this information phase of interview phase. And we will be making we'll be asking the commission at that time to make some decision about who they would like to designate as finalists. Finalists then will be invited to the CPC meeting scheduled for July 12th. The idea would be that those finalists' names would be made public at that time, looking at having some opportunity for the finalists to make a statement during that period of time. And then the commission will go into executive session and we will interview the finalists and have kind of a debrief discussion about kind of what we heard during those interviews. Then we will come back into open session and entertain nominations for the executive director. And the intent is that the commission will select and nominate an executive director at the July 12th meeting. There isn't a lot of wiggle room in terms of compensation that is set by statute. So the OPA and the IG and the executive director of the CPC all get paid the same. So really it is once that you make that decision, I will handle the paperwork for you, and I will be working with Newell in Councilmember Herbold's office to process the nomination. And the goal is to have the new executive director confirmed in early September. So the idea is that you will have it all done by the end of September. Are there any questions about kind of the process or the schedule?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we allowed to know how many applicants there are? And the second question is, will the staff have any, I know the commissioners have a lot of say, but will the staff have an opportunity to be a part of any of this process?
I think that's something that we can have a discussion about afterwards. So let me just pull up really quickly here and I can tell you how many applicants we had. So we had a total of 67 applicants, of which 16 were deemed as qualified. Great. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay, Joel?
So before we go into executive session, there's one thing to bring up, and as Pam outlined, there's quite a bit of work that's going into not only identifying the candidates that are qualified, but doing the initial screening process, initial interview process, and developing additional information that will empower the commission to make an informed decision on who to select for finalists. And that requires a lot of work. And Pam and her team have done quite a bit of work, but also the CPC should be involved in that process. So, after talking with Pam and our attorneys, what we are asking is for the commission to authorize the co-chairs to proceed with the next step in this process, which will include co-chair participation of preliminary interviews with the candidates based on the discussion we're about to have in executive session related to evaluating the qualifications of the applicants. So before we move into executive session, at this time, I will entertain a motion to authorize the co-chairs to proceed to the next step of the executive director hiring process to include preliminary interviews with candidates based on the discussion we're about to have in executive session related to evaluating qualifications of applicants. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion, Co-Chair Merkel.
Thank you. Is there a second? As Commissioner Gadke, is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Levitt. Now, all in favor of the motion to authorize the co-chairs to participate in the next steps, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. So with that, the commission has now authorized the co-chairs to participate in the next step. And we will have a discussion in executive session beginning now to inform how that looks and what the co-chairs are going to be asked to do in the next steps. So I'm going to turn to I'm sorry, yes. 2 other points. One, the meeting will end after the executive session. It is now 10:40 and I'm expecting an executive session to last up to 30 minutes. But at the end of executive session, the meeting will be over, that we will not be coming back to the public meeting. Thank you. And then with that, I will ask Keisha if you can help us get into that breakout room.
Thank you.
Both of my coaches have kept me on track.
I am.
Just break.
Oops. I hit the wrong button.
Yeah. Good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.